All right, so after you guys trim your drawing, you're ready to mount and label it. So I've got my drawing, got my black paper. Now this is going to be kind of hard. I can't fit it all on the screen, so do my best to kind of move it around. So hopefully we can see it. That's a little bit better. That's better. All right, and then ruler. You guys need to use a pencil. I'm going to be using a white color pencil to draw my lines, just so you guys can see them on the video. But again, you should be using a regular pencil. Thank you. Okay. All right, so first thing you're going to do, okay, I would just go ahead. I think everybody's going to be fine in putting your black paper vertical. So put it in front of you so that it's tall. Since we all trimmed our paper, we should have plenty of room if we do it that way. So the first thing, what you're going to do, and I'm going to kind of zoom into this top left corner, okay? I'm going to zoom into the top left corner. So you guys can see this. So I'm in the top left corner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ruler so that it's anchored up here at the top, and I am going to measure 1 inch from the top of my paper, and I'm going to make a mark on my paper just like so. Okay? So I'm measuring 1 inch off. Now remember, guys, if you are using one of those acrylic rulers, again, remember that those measurements do not start at the end of the ruler. They start where it says 0. So you want to make sure you're using your ruler correctly. Okay, so again, I measured just 1 inch off the top and made a mark on my black paper. Again, I'm using white colored pencil. You guys should be using regular pencil. And notice how I'm not all the way over here on the very far left of my paper. I'm a few inches onto the inside, and there's a reason for that. Okay? So it's like that. Okay? The next step, you want to take your ruler now and put it so that it's horizontal. And again, I don't have my ruler all the way up here at the top of my paper. And again, I'm still working in the top left corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up so that I'm measuring off the very far edge. And I want to make a mark where it says 1 inch. So I'm measuring and marking 1 inch off the left side of the paper. And I made a mark just like that. So I want everybody to go ahead and do that right now. All right, next step, guys, for this is now that you have your marks here, you're ready to glue down your project. Now I'm going to zoom back out. So you can see the whole thing, or at least not the whole thing, but at least the other side. So now you're going to take your drawing, okay, move this up so you guys can see it. I've got my entire drawing here. I'm going to flip it over. Here's your rubber cement. Okay, now remember this stuff is kind of clumpy. You want to take excess glue off of your brush here because you don't want it spilling all over your project. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue right here in the corners and just pretty much just get that corner really well. And then I'm going to take some of that glue and kind of make an arrow. That's what's going to get glued down the center. So it's just going to look like an arrow in those corners. So I'm going to do that for each corner. You guys can go ahead and do this along with me. Now there's probably, I don't know, there's some extra rubber cement over there on the counter. So if you're waiting for a bottle, there are some bottles still over there. So we're just kind of framing out the corners and then drag some into the center. So that glue kind of looks like arrows. And then I just take whatever's left on my brush and just kind of clean it off in those other remaining areas. Now this paper is going to work a lot better with the glue than our contour shoe, just because we painted those with watercolor. This had no water added to it, so the paper's really flat. So then after you're done with that, you can flip it over. And then you're going to use those marks, and I'm not pushing down yet. I'm going to use those marks. I'm just going to gently scoot it so that it's against those marks. And before I take my hands and kind of smush all this down, I want to just check my dimensions here, my border, and make sure that it's still an inch. And I'm especially looking at these far edges here. And if everything looks good, and I don't have to move it, I just need to move it a little bit. So I'm just going to move it. As long as you haven't smushed it down, you can move it to where you need it to go. If it all looks good, so again, I'm just checking to make sure that this is an inch all the way up here at the top, an inch all the way over here on the side. If it looks good, I'm going to take my hands, I'm going to smush this down very gently because you do have pencil all over this. You don't want to smear your pencil. So kind of work around your drawing. Use your fingers and they go in there. Okay? Now you'll notice I did get a couple of blobs get on the top of my drawing. The secret to removing any rubber cement, if it's in a place you don't want it, is to let it dry first, and then you just very simply rub it off. So let it dry, and then you'll rub it off. So I want everybody to get to this spot. Give you guys a couple minutes to do that, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, so next step is to deal with the label, guys. Okay? So I'm going to zoom in here. Now again, you could fill this out. Oops, wrong way. You could fill this out with pencil first and then go back over it with Sharpie. Or if you're pretty confident you can do it the right way the first time, just do this in Sharpie. That would be fine. All right, should be able to. Okay, so for these labels, I'm going to fill this out. And again, as always, guys, everything's got to be nice and neat. Okay, this is all about presentation. You are in an art class, so we care about how things look. So if you have sloppy handwriting, take your time. Do a nice job. Okay, if you make a mistake, don't scribble it out and try to write over top of it. That looks ugly. Okay, so get a new label if you need to if you make a mistake. Artist, that is your name. Okay, so make sure that you properly capitalize your name, guys. First and last name, please. I'm just going to write on my label, Mrs. Gower. But again, make sure it looks nice and neat. All right, media. Media is going to be just graphite pencil, and I'll show you how we're going to fill that out. But on my drawing, I use graphite pencil, but I also use white charcoal, so I need to add both of those on there. But for most of you guys, you're just going to write graphite pencil, and I'll go ahead and do that first. So you can see how that's spelled. Let me zoom in here so you can see that. And for those of you who had white charcoal also too, you'll need to put white charcoal. Now I know I don't have enough room here for all of this, so I'm going to kind of, I'm going to write it like this just to make more room. White charcoal, like that. Okay? And let's get title for now because that's something that you might have to think about. Class is going to be Fine Art 1. And when you write Fine Art 1, remember you want to write the Roman numeral 1. And then you'll need to put your class period on there. So I'm not going to put a class period on there since this video is going to be used for 2 more classes. But you guys would put what class period you are in. So if you're in first period, you're going to write first period. If you're in second period, you're going to write period 2. If you're in third period, you're going to write period 3. Okay? Now remember for the title, guys, the title, it has to be valid, so it does have to connect to the drawing. Okay? So again, you would not call this Raining Outdoors. because rain and the outdoors really don't have anything to do with the set of pliers that I'm showing here, okay? So you want to make sure that the title connects to the piece. Does it have to have the word tool in it? Absolutely not. It does not have to have the word tool at all. So you guys can pick something that you think would be associated with tools. You know, you can think about what do we do with tools like this. We're fixing things, putting or assembling things together. So you can kind of think along that line. So your title can be very creative if you want it to be, but it can also be very simple too. So it's up to you. But whatever you do, make sure that you properly capitalize that title, okay? I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and write, and I don't even know what kind of pliers that is. I'm just going to say, let's see here. I'm going to name this after my husband. Jared's wrench. Is that a, no, that's not a wrench, that's pliers. Jared's pliers. There. I'll name it after my husband. He fixes everything around the house, so. All right, so after you get that filled out, and the next thing is then to glue this down. So I'm going to I got that zoomed out for you guys so you can see that. Now, as you guys can see, I got a lot of extra paper here on the right. I have a lot of extra paper in the bottom. That will get taken care of very soon. So the next step is just to take our label, put rubber cement on it. I'm just going to go around the edges. You don't need a whole lot for that piece of paper. And then this is going to be centered, and I'm just going to eye it in the middle. You don't have to measure it. And you just want a little space between your artwork and your label. Not a lot at all. You just want a little space between those two. If you have too much space in between your artwork and your label, then you're going to have a really big border at the bottom. That can be distracting. So that's the way that that's going to look, okay? So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to fill out the rest of your label and to get that glued down. All right, so next step, okay, is to take care of the bottom border and the border here on the right. So if you guys look, I've got a lot of extra paper over here on the right, and I've got a lot of extra paper here on the bottom. So remember, the measurement that you need to remember for this part of the project is just 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my project like this so it's on its side. That's just going to make it a little bit easier for me to measure. Again, I'm going to be using a white colored pencil to do this. You guys should be using regular pencil. I'm just doing this with colored pencil so that you guys can see it better on the video. So I'm going to zoom in to this spot. So again, I'm on the side of my drawing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm just going to measure 1 inch off of the side. And really, I shouldn't be doing it that way. I should be doing it this way. I'm going to do it that way. You never want to lay your ruler on top of your artwork. So I'm going to measure 1 inch off of the right side of my project. And I'm going to make this measurement a couple times. So I have a couple marks to work off of. So I made 2 marks. You guys can see that. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. So I'm going to measure 1 inch off the bottom of my label. And again, I'm going to make a couple marks here. Okay. Now I'm ready to draw my lines. So to draw your lines, and I'm going to turn my paper again. I'm going to zoom out so you can see how this is going to work. So there's my 2 marks. I'm going to, again, take the edge of my ruler, okay, and you can do this with the acrylic one too, even though we're not using the ruler now to measure, we're just using it for a straight edge, so you don't have to worry about reading it. So I'm going to just match up the edge of my paper to the edge of my ruler and make sure I'm actually making a perfectly straight 90-degree angle here. So once I know that that's 90-degree angle right there, it's perpendicular, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw my lines, and I'm going, ooh, it slipped, it slipped. There we go. going to draw this all the way down to the bottom of my paper. So I've got to draw it all the way to the edge of the paper, so again, I know where I need to cut, okay? Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I need to make sure that that line goes to edge to edge. You guys are doing that again in pencil. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Again, I like to put my drawing here on the side. Match up my ruler to the edge of the paper so that I know, again, that I'm going to be making a really good angle here, a 90-degree angle. And this line will be perpendicular to the edge of my paper. So I'm going to draw it once I get it connected. Go through those original marks that I made. And I'm just going to draw it to where it connects to this line. I don't need to draw it all the way down to the bottom of the paper because I'm going to make this cut first. Okay? So once you've got your lines drawn there, see if I can even zoom out more. You guys can see that. Okay, now I'm ready to cut my extra black paper off. Now before you guys do that, one last thing you want to do, guys, you want to take one of your drawing pencils, you want to use your 4H pencil, and you want to sign your artwork in the bottom right hand corner. Remember, you want to keep it nice and small. Keep it small. Do not make it big, because remember, the star of the show needs to be the actual drawing, not your signature. So keep it small. You can do your initials, you can do your first initial, last name, just your last name or just your first name. My first name's really long, so I just use my first initial. So that's how you're going to do that. So the next step then for you guys is to trim your black paper, and then we're going to fill out the evaluation sheet. And the rest of the class period will be for you guys to finish anything up. That's it.